This is personal for all of us. It's personal for Congressman Gingrey, and it's personal for our next guest as well, our next speaker, also a man who has the dual role of congressman and doctor. He's an orthopedic surgeon from Roswell, Georgia. He's chairman of the House Republican Study Committee, proudly representing Georgia's 6th Congressional District. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. and U.S. Congressman Tom Price.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. What a great looking crowd. I don't know what they call you, but I call you patriots. There's so many people to thank, but I want you to put your hands together for a fellow who every single day on the airwaves across this land gives focus to liberty and freedom, and that's Mike Gallagher. Mike said it's personal, and it is personal. It is, because health care is personal. As a physician in practice for over 20 years, I knew that I never saw a Republican patient or a Democrat patient, but I knew I saw an American patient, and those American people know that the government needs to stay out of the exam room and out of the operating room. Now, I want to thank all of you because you are making a difference. Sometimes I get questions, well, is this all a done deal? Is this just a futile activity? And the answer to that is no. And you know how I know that? Because the bill that was supposed to be signed into law was supposed to pass on July 31st. You remember that? Yeah. And it didn't, did it? No. And it didn't because of your activity. And then it was going to pass by the end of September. And then by October 15th. And then by the end of October. And now it's by the end of January. So with the hard work of you and the American people, I know that we will succeed. I know that in my heart and in my core and in my being. Now, we've got remarkable challenges, there's no doubt about it, but when you look at the solutions that are being offered in Washington, they just don't feel right, do they? And why is that? It's because 2 + 2 no longer equals 4 in Washington. You look out there and you say, now wait a minute. We may have some challenges in health care, and we do. And the status quo isn't acceptable, and we all know that. But that doesn't mean that the federal government ought to be taking over the United States health care. There just isn't any way that we ought to get to that conclusion. And the American people know that. They know that. I've had more than one incredible member of that greatest generation who've come to my office, and they sit in front of me and they outline what they've done in their life, and then they get a tear in their eye as they describe for me the concern and the fear that they have for their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. And what they say is that, Congressman, I don't know what to do because I feel my nation slipping away. I feel my nation slipping away. And that's why you're here. The good news is that the American people still own this country, and that's the message that we're sending to Washington today and every day. Now, I have read the House bill. I've read the House bill, all 2,000+ pages, and I'm here to tell you that I've got a diagnosis. And that diagnosis is that it's legislative malpractice is what it is. And it is so because it doesn't embrace any of the principles that you and I hold dear, things like life and liberty and pursuit of freedom. It doesn't embrace any of those principles. Any of the principles met by things like government ration health care? Are the principles met by government ration health care? No. Are American principles met by the government telling you what insurance policy you must buy? No. Are fundamental American principles met by ceding decision-making to bureaucrats in Washington? No. The others have talked about it so far, but this decision this week about whether or not women between the age of 40 and 49 ought to be able to obtain a mammogram as a study examination. This decision, this recommendation, which was done solely on cost, that's what they admit, solely on cost. And they say, oh, don't worry about it, you could do whatever you wanted to do. But the fact of the matter is the bill that's before us, was before us in the House and is currently before us in the Senate, is based solely upon cost. And that ought to send the chills up and down your spine that it sends up and down my spine. Are any of the principles met by lawyers and non-medical people making the laws of this land as they relate to health care? No. There's a great sign back here. What was it? 3962. Who's got that sign? Hold that sign up there. H.R. 3962. Lawyers love it. Doctors hate it. You decide. Now the good news is that there are wonderful solutions. Mike mentioned I'm privileged to chair the Republican Study Committee, a group of over 100 individuals who've come together to come up with positive, upbeat, optimistic solutions to all of the challenges that we face, including health care, that embrace fundamental American principles. So I encourage you to go to our website and take a peek. I want to thank you again for what you're doing. You know as well as I know that the only way for evil to succeed in this nation is for good men and women to do nothing. I know that you will always do something, which is why we're going to prevail. I pulled out this out of my pocket just a little bit ago before I came up here. It's a cartoon, and a fellow said, "You've summed up your speech in a cartoon, I see." And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I have, because it's pretty simple, isn't it? This is about liberty and freedom. This ain't about health care. This is about liberty and freedom. This fellow, Will Halsey. Will, you want to stand up and wave? Stand up there, buddy. Will just gave me this today because Will and his family and folks have been fighting for freedom for a long time, and he gave me this because he knows how I like to close every time I talk to folks across this land. This is a dragon, or this is a monster right here, diamond head monster, and on the top of it he says, "Keep fighting for freedom." So keep fighting for freedom. God bless you.
Congressman Tom twice, ladies and gentlemen.